Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Stat Me Up for Anfield Index. Where the hell do we start on this one? I mean, we've only just stopped laughing, so I don't know what analysis or stats you'd put on that. But here we are. Liverpool beat Paris Saint-Germain 1-0 in Paris last night. And to be fair, there's a few who predicted that scoreline, but there's not a chance anyone predicted the manner in which it happened. I promise you that. Here to deliver the unenviable task of trying to analyze and bring the stats to life from this game. But I mean, I know you can't analyze this as a statistic, but is there a statistic you can put on utter mental?
I think the degree to which these are not like our usual stats is mental, right? I mean, when we'll come on to some of the off-ball zones, on-ball zones, you'll just be like, oh my God. And the fact that Ali's potentially put in a all-time level of performance, I think it's 9 shots on target, saving a total of, what's the post shot? A 2.25 post shot. I think it's on par or better than Quartar's performance against us for Real Madrid in the Paris final. So, yeah, that was an all-time performance. And as we'll come on to, we definitely needed Ali to be everything we know he's been for us over the past, I don't know how long he's been with us, but, over his entire career, it's just, yeah. But no, it is absolutely insane performance. Normally I'm like, 1-0, was it worth staying up for? But it was definitely worth staying up till 2 a.m. to watch this one.
It just, crazy. And let's just get into it, people, because we'll get to the bit where we proclaim Alisson a human demigod and all that bit. But this will just be startling as much in the sense of none of it makes sense and none of it is like the stats normally are. So, yeah, Barts, over to you for on-ball, off-ball and the usual.
I mean, if you just look at this top-line level of stats, those who watch the show, right, we're a stat show, we're a live stat show, so people should get an understanding of where we normally are. But you'd think these were round the wrong way. Do you know what I mean? It's like, It's just 35% for Liverpool possession in a top-level game. We did, all right, against City, we did that. Fair enough. But field tilt of 80-20 is insane. That's just 51 penalty box touches we conceded. 51, right? That's just, I mean, considering that that's the full in play with, let's say, 100 minutes in play. Yeah, that's a penalty box every other minute. That's incredible to concede. 27 shots we conceded, considering we normally are less than 10. Shots on target 9. Again, we normally 5-ish, if that.
Yeah.
Penalty box shots. So how many shots we allowed in our box? So typically, if we got a high volume of shots conceded, we don't let them come in our box. 11. We let them shoot in our box 11 times. Big chances we gave up 3. Typically, it's 1 or 0 for us. We've been good at that this season, so 3 is really high. We gave them, we only gave up 1.9 XG, which, is a little bit over our average, but post-shot 2.25, so they made that better. So they added on nearly 30% chance of scoring on top of the what they created for XG. Threat 2.23 is a really high amount. But if I'm going to start to look at some of the bits we might have done well, I mean, it's a low bar here, but they only converted their threat to XG at around 80%, which, if anyone listens to this, over 100 is good. If you keep your position below 100 and ideally below 50, then that's where you want to be defensively. So that's not a million miles away from where we would normally expect. For us, though, we only converted at 32%. That is probably, I think that's probably our worst performance in terms of converting threat to XG all season. Even City away, we converted more threat to XG. I mean, past success for us, bearing in mind our average is around 85. So we dropped 10% in that game. 74%. They were at 90%.
Wow.
Our long ball rate is normally between 10 and 15. It's over 20 in this game, and it goes up dramatically in the second half. The other thing to note, and this is where Ali comes in, so PPDO, which is your relationship between your shots on target and their shots on target. Okay.
Yeah.
So 1,000 is kind of breaking even. Ours is 2,000, and theirs is 0. Fundamentally, because we scored with our only shot on target, right? And they had 9. So we saved all 9 of their shots on target. They didn't save any of ours. Therefore, they get a big fat 0, and we get 2,000, which is an indication of basically how brilliant Ali was, right? I mean, half splits. I've come to try and give you a bit of solace in these, but it doesn't really change that much. I mean, I heard people online saying, "Oh, we were better in the second half," and we probably were on some bits. Like, in terms of possession and field tilt, not really. It didn't really change that much. In terms of total shots, not really. They actually took more shots in the second half. They had more shots on target in the second half. We decreased slightly the amount in the penalty box, but not much. We didn't concede any big chances in the second half, so that's probably a tick. In terms of XG, though, we brought that down. So we only conceded 0.44 in the second half. So that is better, a lot better than the first half of 1.47. And we kept the same. We were around 0.15 in the first half. We 1.5 in the second half. So, and our threat conversion maintained in and around 25-30%. We reduced theirs to 24. So, our second half performance, I would say, was a definite improvement.
Yeah.
Yes, they still had far too many shots for any of us to be comfortable, but they went from being, oh my God, we might concede at any point, to, no, you're right. You stay over there. Now you stay out there. You can have all this threat, but you're not getting in these areas, right? And that's a significant change, because it meant that we got a little bit of breathing space. We were less panicked, and then when some of the subs came on, I wouldn't say we improved that much, but we got a foothold, should we say? If we look, we break it down into the segments. I mean, again, it doesn't really improve that much in terms of our possession until you start looking at 90, sort of around the 75 mark, where the subs start coming up. Because Curtis came on just after the hour, wasn't it? Just after the hour, 75. Yeah. So that's where our possession starts going up a little bit, and our field tilt remains fairly horrendous. I mean, at one point, I mean, this is the kind of stuff Nightmares is about. Between 15 and 30, we are literally there at nearly 100% field tilt for 15-minute period. Yeah. So that it only drops to 80 for the next 15 up to half time. They then on the hour they take it up to 95% field tilt for 15-minute periods. So there are periods in this game when you start breaking it down and you think, wow, how have we not conceded at that point? And that's where you go back to, post shot here. This column here is how much Ali has saved or decreased. When the filter here is 80-20, 75-90, they had 0.8 XG and they turned that in, 0.08, and they turned that into 0.78 post shot. So they improved that by 70%. Ali still saves it. That is a huge period for us to be doing it. I mean, game state's irrelevant because basically the whole game was in draw state for most of it. Monte Carlo's not a big shock, right? They should have won the game 2-0 or 1-0. That's fundamentally what the Monte Carlo says. 80% the opposition to beat us is the worst Monte Carlo of the season by some distance. I mean, we've been in ones where it's been like a 35-25 and a 15, a split like that. Yeah. But we were less than 5% to win that game. Less than 5%. And we went away with a win. So the top level stats are not great. The only thing you can have a slight sort of hold on to with anything is the fact that we did change second half. We stopped their threat being converted into XG. And we can have a look at some of the duels in that when we go to players. But pass maps, ours is, as the eye test would tell you, much of nothing. This is the kind of thing that we would expect the opposition to look like when we play, right? This is what we normally look like, right? Attack through the wingers, have a good structure in midfield. You know, that PSG were largely playing, that's a back four in there, two sitters, and then two wide out. That's kind of almost what we do. If you go up to to first subs, again, very, very complex shape, very typical of Xbox loader manager kind of style. It's triangles all over the place. So that is kind of them. True. I don't think there's any phase of the game, if we break it down into 15-minute quarter, there's no phase anywhere where we have any resemblance of what we do normally. I mean, this is to the first subs. So, again, I really don't know what I'm looking at there, apart from players, including Ali, playing a back two. So, yeah, it's just... it on the ball was horrific. Is probably a little bit strong, but what wasn't particularly great in anything. Pass analysis, typically, they're about 10 passes every couple of minutes, which is amazing considering they completed that in I think nearly 900 passes. A variety of chains, good basics, levels between the different levels of chain. 36, 20, 35 shows you that they were in control of the ball. We 64% of our passes were in a low chain below 5, which again eye test suggests that's exactly what we were doing. We were panicking too much or giving it away. We couldn't build anything, and the map shows you there that's just a mess. All right, it's not anything to worry about with that. It's a mess. And most of our possession in terms of passing per minute is below 5. Again, that's the kind of graph that we would expect to see an opposition look like when they play us. Not having a lot of the ball, giving it away a lot, very small periods of possession, of sustained possession, should we say. If we look at our threat, their threat mounting's pretty high throughout the whole thing, climbing nicely. Us is a flat line for pretty much, it's 2 sets of flat line. It's a flat line, and then we do a bit in the second half, and then we create a goal, and then it flat lines. So theirs is a mountain range, as a couple of peaks here and there. It's just not good. And if you want to look at us winning the EPV we faced, so normally we have a nice set of hundreds here. I mean, we've got Virgil van Dijk 40%. So he only stopped. So he stopped 40% of threat in front of him. Kanate, who is a very lucky boy to do the 90 minutes, 81%. Robbo, 57%. Trent, 100% of the threat stopped at him, right? I mean, you can talk about his joy, but different ways of looking at how you defend it. Gravenberg, 67% of the threat that came out, he stopped, but that's below his normal kind of way. Dom, 100% decent from him. Endo, 93 for what he was on for, okay? So, it's just... the area, I mean, look at their map for creating threat. That's in their final third. That's the whole game, right? If you break that down by half, again, the whole first half is pretty much in the final third. The second half is in and around our left back area. They start to target Virgil and Robert. That's just incessant pressure. And we don't really change that much, if I'm being honest with you. This is second half, a little bit different, a little bit more down the left, but it's not. There's just areas where we would normally create that just aren't there. It's just there's no patterns there. And if we look off the ball, so what are we typically, if we're under the cosh, you'd expect a lot of defensive actions to try and mitigate that. City, right, would be that. We started in the first 15 minutes, we started slow. So higher here is bad. So PPDA graph being high is bad. Above 6 for pretty much the whole game. So that tells you that they had 6 passes before we put defensive action on. That's not good. Normally we're down where PSG are, 1 or 2. So they were pressing us like nuts. As soon as we got the ball, they were all over us. They were swarming us. No That's doubt. Again typically what we do the opposition, and we just didn't do it this time around. Again, give you the indication of where Paris were making us do our defensive actions in our defensive third. That is so deep. That's almost on our goal line, right? Normally, the deepest we normally go is drop to this line here, right? Not here. That's incredibly deep. I think I wrote down in my notes how deep are we? We need to get out. Second half, you can see a bit of a change. So this first half here, yeah, we are incredibly deep, and that's our left back area. Because Dembele was absolutely roasting Robbo. He had a bit of a free roll. He'd come up against Trent a little bit, come over here, and then that is, what's that one? That's nearly 30% of our defensive actions in one half were in Robbo's area, if not more than that. Yeah. That's a high amount. Second half, we did, as I said, we changed it around. We managed to not engage is wrong, but just shift it a little bit, which helped us out. I'd love to say there's a pattern to our off ball. I think our off ball was basically win it and try and get it into Mo as quick as you can, or into Diaz, who was having an interesting night. And then second half, I just think we just tried to sit in a little bit and go from there. But so that's kind of off ball, on ball. XG, again, not going to show. They had a nice range of how they created. We had regular player corners, that's it. We only had 2 periods where we actually created XG. Yeah, we normally get a nice little graph like this. This is us in this game. This is a truly awful on-ball performance. Shot analysis, what I'm showing is. This is theirs, a splattering of shots. Here you go for us. We've got a Diaz 1 on the first half, end of the first half, which isn't on target. And then we got the Elliott goal here, which ends up being a post-shot 2-1. So, yeah, it's just on and off the ball. You can see we made some changes for second half. Right? And I think you have to give Slot some credit there with some of the subs. I thought CJ was pivotal in some of that change because he didn't give the ball away. He kept the ball. And that is one of CJ's superpowers. In no matter what pressure, he just keeps the football, and that's kind of what we needed to see. And then the rest of the team were deciding it was a hot potato. Endo as well, we did a show, I can't remember, it might be Monday. Endo was a bit of a closer for a shot and getting down. And he had a very similar role here. He came in and just went, I think he came on for the last 15, right? And Paris had no shots. Had one shot in that period of time. Yeah, one shot.
Wow.
One shot, yeah. So I'm saying he had a very good little cameo game to help shut things down. Right?
Definitely.
Very, very little XG. I mean, the stars are on their side, really, to be honest with you. The guy we said to pick out played 17 minutes. Emery, wasn't it? Yeah. Which is a bit sad because I was looking forward to playing. But we did say he doesn't really play. He's not a Champions League starter. But what did he do in the game? I mean, he created 1.6 of their threat in 17 minutes, which isn't too bad. 83% pass rate. It was on the ball for 1.4% of the time, 17 minutes. So it's not too bad. Dembele clearly nearly 19% of their threat he created. I think he had a 98% receiving success, 83% pass rate. That was an amazing performance. Kvaratskhelia, is that right? Is it something like that?
Kvaratskhelia will stick with,
Kvaratskhelia, the guy that we probably should have been more serious about signing in January. If you and I at the helm, again had a good performance, but a bit like Doku, he didn't actually create that much threat. 7.7 is like one of our centre mids. Yeah, our wingers generally create, like Mo would create nearly 15, 18, 19% threat. Yeah. Our fullback, 16%. So
just as a question, this is really important because he bends. I know it's disallowed because his foot's like literally a hair offside.
Yeah.
If that one he curls in goes in, does that raise that stat massively?
No, because that would come under XG. That wouldn't come under threat. So yeah, I mean, even his XT's point, it's just he did well. Please don't.
Yeah.
He had a great performance. I'm just telling you in terms of what we would normally see for a good performance from us. It wasn't quite in that level. This is on ball for us, and I'll try and pick out some good stats. I mean, they're fairly. Ryan Gravenberg at below 70% pass rate, Diaz 75%, Dom at 66%. Not great. Curtis coming on, as I said, 92% pass rate for 28 minutes. That's exactly what we needed at that time. Mac at 82% as well. When everyone around him was losing his head, Mac was still trying to keep the ball, still trying to move things along. Mac still created 12.6% of our threat, which, considering how little we do, is fairly good. Rob owed 21%, which is largely the balls he was playing in for Diaz. So it's largely that through ball. Trent wasn't really tasked with doing it. He was more of a move the ball around and be defensively solid, which I actually thought Trent, or people might disagree, but I didn't think he was that bad defensively.
No, not at all.
There were some really weird passing combinations going on. So grab to Mo is not one I would have seen as a top, and that's here. You've got some others around like Robertson to Mac. There's a few around that you just wouldn't normally see, which shows you how desperate the players were to find another player. They were like, I don't normally go there. Yeah. I'll just try and find a player. Off the ball. So duel rate, we know, is one of Slot's big things, right? You have to win your duels. Aerials for them, I mean, they keep one out, which is quite interesting. Their centre halves went after there were a lot, but aerially, only won 60% and 100%. Pacquiao is someone we were thinking with, wasn't it? We looked at him, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So an aerial right 100% for him. Okay, but his partner only at 60, so not a Liverpool level. Duel rate though, 80-80. Yeah, so when they got involved in the duel rate, won it. Not 9 times, well, not 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10. In terms of midfields, weren't really involved aerially. The two that were there for doing the duels, if you say, were at 60-75%. And even up front, I mean, Dembele, 83% duel rate.
Wow.
So not only was he brilliant on the ball, he also shifted off the ball. So, and you might go, oh, is that just a stat because he didn't do a lot? He could beat it in 6. That's good. That's a really high number for a white forward, right? So if you look at our level of dual success, though, and the highest we've got there is 50%. So that gives you an indication that nobody really hit the mark. Grab as our 6, a 50% dual win rate. You can't do that. You can't. Mac had 11%. So our double pivot, lost. So Mac was in a duel 9 times, only won once, right? Yeah. Grab was in a duel 6. So they had 15 duels between them and won 4. That's our double pivot protecting our 2 centre halves. If you then look at our two centre halves, so Virgil wasn't involved in any duels, right? Also, we were really compact. So if they beat the double pivot, they were pretty much into the box on the next pass, right?
Yeah.
Canate, again, not involved in any ground duels because they were that compact, right? Aerially, Canate only involved in one aerial, won it. Virgil competed with one aerial and lost it. So they knew not to engage us aerially because we'd win. Yeah. It was about on the ground, sliding the balls in behind the rest of it. Trent was involved in 12 duels, only won 3. But I would still reference that a bit like Doku. I would say, what was the end product to that? I'm not convinced it was. He did have some end product. But I don't think he crossed the ball. There wasn't that many crosses going in his side. Robertson conversely won 1 out of 3, so slightly, a little bit different. Yeah, it was a very distinct performance. Now, this is the on-ball touch map, right? This is them.
Wow.
They're nearly all in our half, right? Marquinhos, who's one of their centre halves, is pretty much in our half. When you're playing effectively a sweeper with Pacquiao, you know you're having a good game. And the sweeper's on the halfway line. You've got 9 outfield players, 5 of them in their attacking third, our defensive third, right? That is the level of domination. I mean, Donnarumma, you can just see his deck chair here with his cigar as he's having a bit of a smoke for the entire game. But it's that is a map you would want us to have, not us have that done to us. Conversely, because we were so deep defensively, we then were picking the ball up on average deep as well. We are nowhere near any of we got Mo a little bit around the half space, but his average position is around halfway. Yeah. No one's average position is anywhere near the areas we normally ask it to be. Yeah. It's just not a good. I'll just go back to the zone 14 maps actually just to back that up. Yeah. So we hardly made any passes. So the right hand side one, which is right half space, typically what we use to get Mo in the game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 passes.
Okay.
That's normally 1 15-minute quadrant.
Yeah.
Not the whole game. So yeah. And it's I don't know who got official player of the match. Was it Dembele?
I think actually Alisson got it, to be fair.
Alisson got it. But I went with the tale of two wingers. I brought the guy for them that just landed in the summer. And this again goes back to what I was saying. He didn't actually outperform any of his metrics.
Okay.
So the average is the dot. Right? Sorry, he outperformed it. Read that. He's outperformed 5 out of 7. Right. The 5 out of 7 pretty decent. Mainly shot he got away. Right. But Mo, that's not an amazing game. Mo typically outperforms 7 out of 7. He's on the line there. He's nowhere near on these 2 shots. So Mo didn't have a shot, right?
No.
Mo Salah didn't have a shot in the Champions League game. That tells you pretty much all you need to know about our performance. We couldn't get our best player into a shooting position. So yes.
I'll tell you what, but there's a comment in, and I've got to put it on screen for you. I'm guessing it's from a PSG fan, Champions Monfrere, and he's got a PSG logo on his thing saying, "Football is an unfair sport." Yes, Monfrere, that is a very fair assessment of what we have just served up there. I mean, Barts, let's try and lift the mood for us all a little bit. And let's talk about the holy goalie, the man.
Yeah.
I genuinely can't think, and someone's going to correct me of this, even better, as you said, than Courtois in the final against us. Unbelievable. Like, we need to wax lyrical with these stats of how good Ali was last night.
I mean, normally I wouldn't look at the stats because it's generally about Anfield players, but like these are on ball stats, right? So Ali had 10% of our possession. Right? Okay, that's not far off. He created 11% of our threat. Right? That normally it's nowhere near that. It's less than 2%. He's at 11%. His receiving success was 80%. Again, good. Pass success 60%. Considering he's kicking long, that's pretty good. A lot of our outfield players were stuck your arm off for that. You know what I mean? So it's long passes. Yeah, 21's pretty high, but you go off the ball. I want to see if he's won. He didn't take any duels on this time around. Defensive third touch. His touch is 50. That's really high for him. So we were trying to go in and move it around. But your big stuff you got to look at is that post shot. Yeah, the amount of post shot that he saved, so how much they improved, was just phenomenal. If you look at some of the shot analysis for them, so some of these shots. So I'm trying to get one of these mega saves. There's a cut. Where's the free kick? There's a cut of free kicks, but there's some of these where the player has added on, 30%. So here, this is a 5% chance. Yeah. The player makes it a 33% chance. So he adds on 28%. Ali saves it. Right? That
was the one. That was Kavicha where he has to shift quickly down to his right, instant as he switches. That was brilliant.
And that was a brilliant save. You've got there's a free kick around. I can't remember what time it was. Where he shifts. Here again. 5% chance. This is the free kick. 5% chance makes it up to a 38% chance post shot. So he adds on 33%. Ali saves it. Yeah. The one-on-one, which is Dembele here, right? That is a 0.4 chance. 40% of the time a player scores from that position, Ali saves it. Yeah. He then does a follow-up here of a 0.25, makes him miss it. 0.24. Some of the inexplicability, some of the ones that you wouldn't expect were that great, were the ones from distance where they're going in the top corner, basically. And he just says, not today, thanks, and saves it. It just, the ones from the angle as well, typically are really hard to do. So, yeah, there's a few absolutely amazing saves that he did.
Yeah.
It's also the volume. He was having to, so they had 29 shots, right? Is that right? 27 shots. They had the ball for 51% of the time, so about 50 minutes. So that is a shot just under just over every minute. That's right. Yeah, so it's 130. That's right. So he's having to make a save, get up, recover, hope we keep the ball, make another save, get up, recover, think about it, moves around again, another save. The amount of shots that break. If you go to the Barter analysis, the green ones here are shots, right? So they did pockets of shots. So this is that is 4 shots in a 1 minute period. That's 4 shots in a 2 minute period. And they're not low. We've just seen that. They're not low quality shots. These are Ali getting up, making a save. There was a period of play just before half time where Ali makes a save, gets up, scrambles, make another save, clears the line, then Ali gets up, gets big, and the player puts over bar.
Yeah.
So he's having to move around. It truly was, I think it's the greatest goalkeeping performance in Champions League. I know Quartar at the time will really annoy us, but we didn't make Quartar move as much as PSG made Ali move around on last night. And I also think this game highlights the need for a top quality keeper, because the one thing Donnarumma was asked to do, he didn't do. And they lost the game.
That was the only thing I wanted to ask. Because that is ultimately, I completely agree that the difference in these types of knockout elite competition, it often comes down to what does your goalie do. We've known that as a positive from last night. We've had Courtois on the other side. It did look like that, and this is not trying to take a single thing away from Harvey Elliott, Núñez, or anyone involved. That chance, I mean, he gets a solid hand to it. I mean, I'd be intrigued if we could get the XG or, what the threat, because it does feel like he should have saved it. Not that we care anymore.
It's 1 point. It's 0.15 shots. 15% of the time, a player scores from that area. So it's not a high. It's not a high quality. It's not a big chance, we say. Harvey made it a 0.21, so he added 6%. So because he put it, he did try and bend it, but he got a hand to it. Right? And as much as we can be kind of our keepers, if you get a hand to it, you probably should save it. I'm sorry, you just from that angle. If you look at a comparative one from a similar angle, that's a bit near. Like there you go, the one we just spoke about. A very similar shot, right? A 5% chance. Kivicia makes it at 33%. Ali saves it. It's just this night and day about the quality of keeper. Ali would have saved that shot. I've no doubt in my mind last time. Now you could say, all right, fair enough. He had very little to do, but again, that's goalkeeping. You've got to keep concentrated. You've got to be on it for the full 90 minutes because you never know when you'll be called into action. And because you lost on defence, you can lose the team again. And that's kind of what happened.
Crazy, isn't it? The difference between the world's best and an excellent keeper is probably illustrated there. But there you go. All these stats, we broke it all down for you. It's still a 1-0 victory the Reds come away with. Christ knows how, but just a moment of magic all around. And with the team we're playing at the weekend, we move on quite quickly and try and be as respectful as possible as we look at this, people, because if you were to pick a follow-up for this, Southampton at home, Barts, let's be honest. I mean, they've won 2 and drawn 3 out of 27 games all season. There's 22 defeats out of 27. They have only scored 19 goals and they've shipped 65. I mean, this feels like a dream tie. You look at their last 2 games as well, consecutive 4-0 defeats home and away. So if you were to pick the follow-up for a bit of a confidence boost and to get an attacking routine, you would probably pick that. But we're trying to be fair here. I look at their threats and there's not more than a couple of goals. Paul Onochua, I think it's pronounced, gave us a few problems in the Carabao, the big target man. Maybe you also think of Tyler Dibbling, a player that's liked by a lot of Liverpool fans for how he showed, a couple of goals for him. But he's trying not to be disrespectful, people. But when you look round, the stats are telling this is a team that's got 9 points all season. I'm guessing we'll come to you with understat, Barts. It ain't going to look too much different from that picture I've painted there.
No, I mean, they've scored 19 goals in 27 games. They've shipped 65 goals in 27 games. Got 9 points. So what should they have shipped? Or what should they have scored, right? They should have scored 30 goals. They're underperforming up front by the 12 goals, right? 11.7. So they're running like that's, as Kenneth would say on UP, that's like Arctic cold. That's up sub-zero. Yeah. That's like a cold streak to get in the bit. I'll say too much to my end. But defensively, right? You think 65 bad. Understats actually got them. They should have conceded 75 goals.
Wow.
So they're actually overperforming by nearly 10 goals defensively, which is someone else. But Understat they should have got 15, nearly 16 points. So they are probably the wrong side of a bit of variance here and there. I seem to remember a few games they were ahead or whatever else, and they've just unfortunately not won them. Sometimes it isn't, unfortunately, they're just not a good side in terms of process to see games out. Away, though, I would just want to see what the splits by, even worse. So they've only scored 10 goals away from home, should have scored 14, so it's not as bad. Away from home, shipped 28, should have conceded 32. So that, again, not as bad, but still, I mean, it's still not something you'd be like, yeah, that looks great. They got 5 points and they should have got 10. So their underperformance away from home is not as bad as home, which is a bit surprising. In terms of what our old favourite, looking at what they do for how many shots they concede and the rest of it. Shooting, just load that up. So what are they generally, I mean, shots. So the last few games, 9, 10, 11, they're sort of in and around 10 shots a game. Okay, that's generally what they're doing. And they generally about, I'd like to say four shots on target. 4 shots on target to be nice. Southampton, against though, what do they concede? They are conceding, that's nearly 20 shots, 15, 16. That's a lot of shots. And the problem they've got is that the number next to it is how many they concede on target of that. So they're conceding over double figures on target as well. It's XG the last 2 games. I mean, that is definitely a worry. They nearly exceeded 4 XG against Brighton and 2.5 XG against Chelsea. And they only created, so on average, they're creating less than 1 XG. So, this is a game that I can't think of the words, not be too harsh, but it's a game, as you said, if you were going to handpick one to come off the back of a tough game away in Paris, you would probably pick this. The issue is, though, as much as I can see, I mean, don't get me wrong, Wadiz already said, like, we should play Cheese, Elliot Jones. If you make too many changes, we'll get a dysfunctional side and you risk not getting the result. Fundamentally, we still need to get the result. There is a lot of time, actually. So Wednesday, is this an evening kickoff? Have I got that right? Or are you playing in the evening?
Saturday, 3 o'clock, this one.
Oh, is it 3 o'clock? Right. So it's a 3 o'clocker. So you would have they'd flown home last night early morning. So they're Thursday, Friday, they would have had a bit of rest. Not that much. And then they've got, in terms of PSG, the following week we've got PSG, isn't it? So it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, they've got a rest. Right. So they've got 2 days. So, I think your big hitters are going to play. I would be surprised if you don't see a rotation at left back. We don't have a rotation at right back, so Trent will play. Ali probably will, although just think they'll limit the number of changes to bring it back. Well, they could make an argument for Kev, but yeah. Midfield will be the contentious area. I think because CJ didn't play a lot, he will probably be in line to start. I think Grab will play. He's played every single Premier League game. I don't see that changing. Mac, maybe. Mo, I think, will start. People might be surprised by that, but I think he will. Jota played 65 midweek, so might miss out and might play Nunes. And left wing, I think that's a toss of a kind, to be honest with you. I think Diaz has been brilliant, but they might save him for later on. I do think, so here's the thing. If CJ doesn't start, or they have obvious changes planned, I think that might be in prep plan box midfield.
Yeah, true.
Keep it up. And I genuinely think if he had his time again, I think he might go box midfield against PSG away. He didn't. He went to it, and it made us more solid. But we shouldn't need to against Southampton. I know people shout Endo should be starting. I'd be really surprised, we'll be honest with you, because Grab's played every single game, so I don't see that changing. But hey, we'll see how it goes. Kanate might be one to miss out. Might be for Kwanzaa.
Yeah.
But we will see. I do think though, Slot is, as much as we love to think about rotation, Slot loves to play the game in front of him.
Yeah.
And it's about winning that next game for him, because that's another win towards the title. Yeah, you win then. I can't remember. Arsenal playing the same day or the next day.
They're United on Sunday, aren't they?
Right. So if you think about that psychologically, you win that. That's 16 points clear.
Massive.
Massive, right? If we start well against Southampton, then you can make changes. And I think Slot said that Ipswich was a prime one. We started well, we get the result. It's just, I think there's a lot of evidence about he will start with an 11, try and get the result early doors, and then make the changes. I don't think we've seen a lot of evidence of him heavily rotating the league and then changing later on. So as much as we might all think they're going, they're lower than the rest of it, and I agree with that, I just don't see him changing a habit last time. Left back, yeah, sure. One of the midfielders, okay. And then a rotation for left wing and a centre forward, maybe easy 3-4 changes max, I would suggest.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we're going to see the big shift around that people think, but we'll have to find out on Saturday. So there you go, people. Long story short, all the metrics sucked, but the ultimate one is that Harvey Elliott tucks it away, and somehow, mainly thanks to Alisson Becker, the Reds take a 1-0 lead into this second leg. All it leaves me to say, as ever, is Barts, for the time, the insight, and for somehow still making me feel positive about all those stats. It is much appreciated.
No worries, anytime.
And ladies and gents, that was another Stat Me Up for Anfield Index.